Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome to another live stream. It is about 5 in the afternoon for me, so we're here a little bit late compared to our past few streams, but that's okay. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're all doing fantastic. While we wait for some people to get in here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the comments on my end. I'm going to send out some notifications. I'm going to do all that good stuff. I am looking forward to a stream today, man. So let's see here. Let's get the comments pulled up real quick. So we're here. There we go. Go ahead and head on over to the Discord chats. Drop a notification over there real quick. How's everybody doing today? Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're all doing fantastic. We got Kay first in chat. What's up, Kay? We got Dom. What's up, Dom? We got Madison. Madison, what's up? We got Mr. Fee. What's up, guys? I only have 30 minutes before I have to leave for art class. Well, we're going to jump into this one in just a second. Don't you worry. We're going to give it a minute or two. Let some people get in here who want to watch us live, and then we will go for it, man. Today we're going to be talking about what do you fear really? What do you fear really? We're going to talk about that. Now, I'm not asking you that question. I'm going to answer that question for you, actually. I'm going to answer that question for you. We're going to talk about something that I don't think we talk about enough here on the channel, to be honest, but we'll get into it. Don't you worry. Nav, what's up, dude? Hope you're doing fantastic. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's see here. Man, we're not even, what? 2 minutes into this thing, and we've already got a $10 tip from Chase. Chase, thank you so much, dude. Get some purple hearts in the chat for Chase. Not even 2 minutes into this thing, and we got a $10 tip from Chase. Chase, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, brother. Thank you, thank you. I want to say I've been very anxious the past couple of weeks, been resisting compulsions. Only common sense came to my rescue today. Well, it sounds like you're practicing, dude, and that's what matters. That's all that matters. What's up, Crystal? What's up, Style Alert? Miss Thanksgiving. We got a full house almost in here today. We're going to get started in just a second, guys. Thank you again, Chase, for the $10 tip, dude. Really, really appreciate you. You're quick with it, man. Anytime Chase tips the stream, he's quick with it. Not even 2 minutes into this thing. So thank you, Chase. Appreciate it. Thank you for the purple hearts. All right, guys. Let's check our viewer count here. I feel like we've got enough people in the chat to go ahead and get started, honestly. Mr. Fee, thank you for the purple hearts. Crystal, thank you for the purple hearts. Appreciate it, guys. Yeah, I feel like we've got enough people in the chat to go ahead and get started. So let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about it. What do you fear really? What do you fear really? Okay, so over the years that I've been doing the channel, over the years that I've been doing the streams, right, I've had, as you can imagine, several dozens and hundreds of people come to me and tell me their fears, right? Wonder Bro, my mind is predicting that this bad thing is going to happen. My mind is predicting that this bad thing is going to happen. I'm a nervous wreck because I'm afraid I'm going to, you know, this is going to happen, or I'm afraid I'm going to have a heart attack, or I keep having thoughts that tell me this bad thing is going to happen, and I'm afraid of all these different things, right? Over the years, I've had so many people come to me and tell me their fears. You can imagine, I've heard them all. I've heard them all from start to finish. I've heard every single possible fear imaginable, and then I've had people that have said, well, my mind seems to be afraid of everything. All these thoughts are coming in about things that could happen, and all these irrational thoughts are just flooding me each and every day, and I'm so worried that this is going to happen. I'm worried that that's going to happen, and people make a mistake because they're not looking deep enough, right? And now you might be thinking, well, don't you tell people not to obsess? I do, but I just want you to look a little bit deeper for a second with me today, right? Just in this stream right here, okay? What do you fear really? Do we need to tackle all of your fears about, I don't know, this bad thing you're worried about happening, or this may be happening in the future, right? So forth and so on. Do we need to tackle all of the specific fears that you think that you have? Or do we need look a little bit deeper and see if there's a root fear there that most people have in common? And I'm going to answer that. Right? Again, this is not a question I'm asking you. I'm going to answer it for you. What do you fear really? You fear anxiety. right? You fear the way anxiety makes you feel. You fear having panic. You fear having anxiety. You fear the feelings of fear. Now, some people might be quick to debate me on that. Well, Wonder Bro, no. I don't fear the feelings of anxiety or fear. I mean, I don't like them, but I'm more afraid of this what if that I'm having. What if this never, blah, 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 or what if this thing happens in the future? That's what I'm more afraid of, Wonder Bro. Some people might be quick to debate me on that. But I want to ask you a question, right? Now, this is a question that I want you to answer. This is a question that I want you to ask yourself. You don't have to answer in chat. You can answer in your head. I want to ask you a question to try to prove my point here. Let's say you had an irrational negative thought that says you're going to do something crazy, right? Some sort of harm theme. You're going to hurt somebody. Or let's say you have some sort of irrational thought that comes to your mind that says, what if this bad thing happens? Or what if that bad thing happens? I want you to picture for a moment having that thought, what it would be like to have that thought, but have absolutely no anxiety towards it. No anxiety. The thought comes, but there's not even a lick of anxiety. There's no anxiety. There's no fear. It's just a thought comes, but there's no anxiety. There's no panic. There's no anxious symptoms. There's no fear felt within you at all. Zero fear, zero panic, zero anxiety. Would you really give that thought much of your time? If that was the case, would you really be so concerned with that thought if that was the case? If that thought came with zero anxious symptoms, would you really give it that much of your time? Would you really give it that much of your effort if it came with absolutely, and I'm saying zero anxiety? The answer to that question, of course, is no. You might have an irrational thought that interests you, makes you a little bit curious, right? But if it came with absolutely zero anxiety, no uncomfortable feelings whatsoever, zero uncomfortable feelings, would you really be that preoccupied with that thought if that was the case, right? So when people say things like, I'm so afraid of this that's going to happen in the future, right? Now, some people already know their root fear. Some people already know that their root fear is the feeling. Some people already know that their root fear is the anxiety. Some people already accept that and realize that, right? Some people say, well, I'm just afraid of the way that I feel. Bingo, there you go. Some people already are caught up on that topic. But a lot of people, they tend to fight with these thoughts, right? I don't want this bad thing to happen. What can I do to avoid this bad thing? I don't want this bad thing to occur, so I'm going to fight with that, and I'm going to argue with that, and I'm going to obsess over that because I don't want that to ever come to pass, right? Right? Some people fight with that, and they believe that that's really the cause of their problems, right? The cause of their problems is that they don't want these bad things to happen. But again, let's look a little bit deeper. And you'll see that you have a fear of fear. Like Kate said in chat, you have a fear of fear, you have a fear of anxiety. Anxiety is your fear. If something happened, or if things started to happen to you, or if thoughts continued to come to you, but they came with zero anxiety, they came with no anxious symptoms, you'd probably be able to brush them off, right? But because they come with anxiety, because something happens and, oh, here comes some symptoms, a thought occurs to you and here comes some symptoms, because these symptoms come, then you get really worked up. Now you're invested in the thought, what the thought has to say. Now you're invested in trying to avoid the situation. Now you're invested in not wanting that bad thing that your mind is predicting to happen. You're invested because it comes with feelings that you don't like. You're invested because it comes with anxiety. And what's your fear really at the end of the day? You fear the way that it makes you feel. You don't want to feel the way that you feel. You fear the way that these thoughts are making you feel. You fear the way that these situations are making you feel. So at the end of the day, your root fear that you have to overcome, right, is the fear of anxiety itself. Because if these things came with no anxiety, they wouldn't bother you. They bother you because they come with anxiety. They bother you because they come with the thing that you fear, right? The anxiety itself. So what do we do with this realization? What do we do with this realization? Where do we go from here? We've made a realization that, okay, my root fear is anxiety. I don't like anxiety. I don't want to feel anxious. That is my root fear. That's why I'm so invested in all of these thoughts and situations and avoidance, so forth and so on. So how do you overcome then the fear of anxiety? Well, that brings us right into full circle. You guys already know what I'm going to say. That brings us full circle right into acceptance, which is basically practicing being with the feelings of anxiety, no matter what provoke them, right? We always say, don't get lost on the content of the thoughts, just practice accepting the anxiety. That way we can overcome your root fear here, which is the anxiety itself. So acceptance, it all comes full circle with acceptance, because again, if the thoughts didn't cause anxiety, you wouldn't care. If the situations didn't cause anxiety, you wouldn't care. Anxiety is why you fight with these thoughts and feelings. Anxiety and your fear of anxiety is why you are so invested in these thoughts and feelings. So we must overcome your fear of anxiety. How do we do that? By practicing acceptance, by allowing the thoughts to come and the feelings that come with them, and then reminding yourself when you want to obsess, right? When you want to obsess and you want to go down what we call that rabbit hole, that mental rabbit hole, remind yourself, that can be your accepting inner voice right there. Remind yourself, wait a minute, I don't need to figure this out. I don't need to figure that out. My root fear, right? My root fear is anxiety. So I'm gonna practice being with this anxiety. I'm gonna get to the point where I don't care if the anxiety's there, right? I'm gonna get to the point where I have changed my relationship towards anxiety. That way I can overcome my fear of it, because again, that is your root fear. So you're trying to fight the battle of the thoughts. You're trying to fight your way out of the thoughts, fight your way out of the situations, because you think they are the problem. They are not the problem. If they come with zero anxiety, you wouldn't care anyway. So we need to turn our focus from, instead of obsessing over the thoughts and feelings, using the accepting inner voice and reminding yourself, okay, I don't need to bother fighting a battle with something that's not even my root fear anyway. So I'm just going to accept the thoughts and feelings. I'm going to practice accepting the way that they make me feel, because as I start to lose my fear of anxiety because I've changed my relationship towards it. How do you do that? With what you tell yourself about it, right? The accepting inner voice. As I've changed my relationship towards anxiety, I now realize that there is no point in trying to fight with the thoughts and the situations that create it, because that's not the root fear anyway. So these thoughts come and these situations come, and you need to remind yourself, okay, if I wasn't afraid of anxiety, this wouldn't be a problem. If I wasn't afraid of anxiety, if I wasn't afraid of the way that these thoughts and these situations are making me feel, then this wouldn't be a problem, right? This wouldn't be a problem. So understand, right? Understand that we have to eventually get you to the point through the act of acceptance, right? Through the act of acceptance, that you change your relationship towards anxiety. That way, if you get a thought that causes it, you don't fight with the thought, because you're not so afraid of the anxiety it brings, right? That way, if you're in a situation that causes it, you don't try to change the situation because you're not so afraid of the anxiety that brought, right? So again, guys, really, this is not a battle, a fight where you're trying to avoid these situations and avoid these thoughts, figure out these thoughts, right? This is you coming to the realization that if you didn't fear anxiety as much as you fear it, it wouldn't matter if the thoughts were there. If you didn't fear anxiety as much as you fear it, it wouldn't matter if you were in anxiety-provoking situations. Dr. Claire Weekes herself said that without extra fear, right, without added fear, sensitized nerves can repair themselves rather quickly, right? So again, she's hinting at the fact that, oh, you know, you can be bluffed by these situations and thoughts, and you can try to avoid the situations and avoid the thoughts, right? Or you can realize that it's your fear of anxiety that's keeping this thing going. So, Wonder Bro, does that change the advice? Does that change the advice at all? Wonder Bro, do we need to do something different now that we've made the realization that we have a fear of anxiety, and that's why these thoughts and situations, we're trying to fight these thoughts and situations? No. This doesn't change the advice. It just changes your approach, you could say. If you were trying to fight those thoughts and situations thinking they were the problem, then that's a problem in itself, right? So maybe now your approach is going to be more, okay, I don't have to fight the thoughts. I don't have to fight the situations. I just need to overcome my fear of anxiety. That way, if I ever have a thought that causes anxiety or a situation that causes anxiety during my recovery, it's not a big deal, right? So it doesn't change the advice. It's just, this is one of those streams where it's like, maybe you can look at the advice differently now. This is the reason that we tell you not to fight with your thoughts and feelings, not only because is it pointless and it sends the wrong message to the brain, hey, this is important, when it's not only because of that, but also because it's not the problem anyway, right? That's really the point of the stream, guys. It's not the problem anyway. Your fear of anxiety is the problem. If you had a thought that made you anxious, but you wasn't afraid of anxiety, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? Or if you were in a situation that was anxiety provoking, but you weren't afraid of anxiety, wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? How do we get you to the point where you're not as afraid of anxiety? By changing your relationship to it. How do we change your relationship to it? The accepting inner voice. What is the accepting inner voice? What you tell yourself about it. What you tell yourself about it. So if you've told yourself very fearful, negative things about anxiety your entire life, maybe it's time to start using the accepting inner voice, right, to embrace anxiety, to accept anxiety, right? So that is how you change your relationship towards the anxiety, with the accepting inner voice. But understand, the advice doesn't change. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight, I guess you could say, as to one of the many reasons why we tell you not to argue with the specifics of the thoughts and not to worry about the content. And let's just tackle your root fear. Let's tackle your root fear, which is, I don't like anxiety. I'm afraid of anxiety. Well, the only way that you can practice being not afraid of something is to accept it with the right attitude. The only way that you can practice being not afraid of something is to embrace it instead of avoiding it. The only way that you can practice not being afraid of something is to change the way you talk to yourself about it. We call that the accepting inner voice. So it's time to introduce new ways of thinking towards your anxiety. So when the thoughts are there, the feelings are there, you've got the accepting inner voice instead of the same old negative story, right? And then the positive behaviors follow. Living your life, showing your brain, hey, there is no real tiger because look at me behaving like a person who is already healed. Right? The two main keys, the accepting inner voice and the positive behaviors. So, again, this is just some food for thought, you could say. Maybe you thought that you needed to tackle every anxious thought. Maybe you thought that you needed to avoid every anxious situation. Maybe you thought as long as I fight these thoughts tooth and nail, then I'll be okay. But what if you got to the point, right? What if you got to the point that you lost the fear of anxiety? Then would it really matter? Would it really matter if the thoughts and feelings came, right? So that's something you've got to ask yourself. That's something that you need to consider, and maybe that'll help you leave these thoughts alone. Maybe that'll help you, which we've been preaching that since day one. But this stream is just me saying, hey, here's another reason why you should leave those thoughts alone, because they're not the problem anyway. The reason you're fighting with them is because you don't like the way that they make you feel, right? That's the reason you're fighting with them. So this is just another stream to try to, I don't want to use the word convince, but I guess you could say convince you to really stick to the advice. All right, you guys, I love you so much. We're about to head into the post stream. That is the point of today's stream. If you enjoyed it, leave a big thumbs up, man. Let's see. We got Nathan who said sent you 20 via PayPal, or Nav that said sent you 20 via PayPal. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you. That takes us 30. Let's get some purple hearts in the chat. Thank you, dude. Thank you. But yes, guys, we are in the post stream. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask them. That was the point of today's stream. Like I said, just a little stream to try to get you to say, hey, maybe it's time that I use this advice. He's right. Maybe it's not the thoughts and whatever that's the problem. Maybe my root fear is I fear anxiety, and I just need to practice overcoming that fear of anxiety. Okay, you guys? So, entering into post stream, thank you so much again, Nav, for the $20 tip, dude. I appreciate you. We're on a 220-day streak. Thank you so much, Rich, for the $10 tip. I appreciate you, man. Crystal and UK and Piano, thank you guys so much for the purple hearts. Let's see here. I'm scrolling up, see if I did miss any questions while we were having our little rant session there. Root fear, it's for me 100%. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there might be some people that debate me on that, whatever, it's okay, but I feel like for 99% of people, that is going to be the problem. They don't like the way that it makes them feel. So if they start to really practice changing the relationship with anxiety, right, through the accepting inner voice, You start to see how you tackle your root fear. And then these thoughts and anxiety-provoking situations or whatever, they start to lose their power because you've tackled the root fear, right? Which is what you've been doing all along. If you've been using the 2 keys, the accepting inner voice, positive behaviors, that's what you've been doing this whole time, is changing your relationship towards anxiety, teaching your brain, right? But I just wanted to point it out today. I wanted to make it super, super obvious, right? That's one of the many reasons why we say, okay, you're wasting your time trying to deal with all these thoughts and obsess over them, so forth and so on, right? Kevin, what's up, Kevin? Wonder Bro, do you know anything about somatic? I hope I said that right. Pain. Is it all anxiety based? I'm not going to lie to you. I've not done a whole lot of research into that. I don't want to give you information that might be incorrect. So, what's up, Rich? I find I'm a bit more vulnerable to thoughts when I get fatigued. Practice has really helped the anxiety. Yeah, you become sensitized, right? But again, those thoughts create anxiety, and you don't like that anxiety, so you fight. That's why you're fighting. And that is the point of today's stream. The point of today's stream. Fear's like a box of chocolates. You never know when you'll have to kick a... See, I like your jokes, Sky, but I can't pronounce half of the words that you use, and maybe that's why they fly over my head. I'll be honest. Maybe that's why they fly over my head, okay? Caring how you feel is the whole problem, in my opinion. It absolutely is, which is basically what I just said, right? That's just another good way to word it. I like that wording. Caring too much about the way that you feel. And then some people say, well, by the way, I'm going to get us some music going. Some people say, well, that's absolutely insane if you're telling me not to care about the way that I feel. And it's not that, right? It's not that. I'm not saying that you can't want to strive towards recovery, right? I'm not saying that you can't want to be recovered. I'm not saying that you can't want to make progress. Like, I'm not trying to take any of that away from you, right? Of course you want those things, but to give your feelings so much power in the moment, it's why you're miserable. And it's what keeps these things alive, and it's what keeps you feeling miserable, so forth and so on, right? So forth and so on. So understand, I'm not trying to take recovery away from you. I'm not trying to say that, oh, you shouldn't care about the way that you feel, right? At all. You should not care about the way that you feel. I'm not trying to say that. Everybody likes to feel good. Everybody wants to get to the point where their nerves are not so tired, right? All that's true. All that's true. But what I am saying is, if you change the relationship towards the quote-unquote negative ways that you feel, you'll realize that you were causing the pain, not the feeling, right? You were causing the suffering with your resistance towards it, with your fear, your added fear, what Dr. Claire Weeks called second fear towards these feelings, right? Does everybody get what I'm saying? Totally okay to want to make progress and feel a better way, right? But the reason you're suffering is not because of the feeling. It's because of your relationship towards it. That's the suffering. That's the suffering. That's the suffering. And that's really what this stream is all about, is, hey, look, what do you fear really? What do you fear really? You fear that anxiety, right? How can you stop fearing that anxiety to where it doesn't matter if it's there or not, right? Which will lead to things like healing, which will lead to things like recovered nervous system. How do you get there? By changing your relationship towards it. Again, changing your relationship towards it. It's going to come down to the way that you view it. Attitude, perspective, whatever you want to call it. There's so many different words that we can use there. But you get my point. And again, the advice hasn't changed. I'm just giving you a new way to look at it. Why are you using the advice? This is why you're using the advice. Because you're tackling your root fear. So it doesn't matter if that first fear is there, right? Doesn't matter if that first fear is there, because the second fear is not there. What is the second fear? Well, it's your relationship towards the feelings, right? That's what's going to create suffering or not create suffering. Not the thoughts, not the feelings, but your relationship towards them is going to be the added fear, worry. Okay, it comes down to our very simple, little quote that we use sometimes here on the channel. Worry equals danger. So if you're doing a ton of worry, then of course you're freaked out, right? So if we can eliminate that worry by changing what you tell yourself about anxiety, okay, all right, we'll start to make some good progress. We'll start to make some good progress. That's what it is, man. That's what it's all about. But anyway, thank you guys so much for supporting today's stream. Again, we've got let's see, we've got Nav and we've got, who was it? Chase. Nav and Chase, thank you guys for the, let's see, total of 30 on today's tip goal. We're on a 220-day streak. We're gonna hit this one early. I can feel it. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. This has been a really good stream. I wish people actually listen to Wonder Bro, like actually listen. We will keep preaching until they do. Right? We will keep preaching until they do. So, we will go blue in the face. But eventually, people might hear something that says, okay, light bulb goes off. So, we're going to keep doing our thing, man. We're going to keep doing our thing until we get all those light bulbs to go off there. Sometimes that can take time, right? Sometimes that can take time. How are you doing today, Sky? I'm fully prepared to fist fight a kangaroo. That would be a sight to see. Talk to me tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be different. Episode of South Park. Rady is trying to cure his alcoholism by drinking more. It wasn't until he believed he was cured that he stopped drinking. Once it was revealed he was never. I get it. I get what you're getting at. I get what South Park's getting at there. He almost relapsed, but then Stan helped him realize that he stopped drinking on his own and he can continue. Maybe us anxiety sufferers can do the same. I like it. I agree. Everybody's aggravated today, apparently. Is that the consensus that we are coming to? Everybody is aggravated. Yes, okay. Okay, it's confirmed. Everybody's aggravated in chat today. It's an aggravating day. We're going to be aggravated together, chat. We're going to be aggravated together. Is the moon doing anything weird? That was my next question. Is the moon doing anything weird? What are we gonna blame it on, chat? We gotta find something to blame it on. Gotta go to class. See you later. Thanks you, Thanks for being here, dude. I appreciate you. If anybody new here has any questions or has yet to subscribe, do those two things, right? Ask your questions, hit the subscribe button, start joining our live streams. We'd love to have you. This is the part of the stream where we just kick it and hang out with chat and chill a little bit and answer any questions that we can. I'm aggravated. This fatigue keeps hanging around. Try to change that relationship with the fatigue, right? How do you change a relationship with something? By what you tell yourself about it, right? What is a belief? A thought that you continue to think, something you continue to tell yourself over and over and over again, right? Full moon on the horizon. There you go, Sky. That would be a sight to behold. A sight to behold. Jesus, Sky. I am also sick and blame it on my sickness. I'm a friggin' wreck. Everybody's sick. Everybody is sick. Everybody knows sick. I'm not going to comment on myself because I'll jinx myself. So, yeah, we did that last time. I gotta make that same mistake again. Fear of the way that you feel. The best way to put it. Laughter is the best medicine. I agree with you, Sky. I agree with you. I like the dad jokes. That explains the feistiness. Yes, it absolutely does. Who's not a little bit feisty when they're sick? It's the weather or change of weather. Could be. There could be so many causes. I guess we'll just have to accept it. Accept it, right? Guess we'll just have to change our relationship towards it and work with it rather than against it. All right, guys. I will be right back. Give me just a second. Give me a few minutes. I'll be right back. We'll finish the rest of this stream. My apologies. I'm back. He must have had to potty bad. That was half of the equation, yes. Yes, I'll admit. That was half of the equation. That was half of the equation. When you gotta go, you gotta... Look, I'm getting older, okay? I'm getting older. I can't, you know, I can't hold it like I used to be able to. Scroll up, see what I missed. And we're talking about walruses? Okay, interesting. Okay. Wonder, bro, what's your name, bro? My name is Chris. My name is Chris. Feel free to call me Chris, if that's what you prefer. I'm not an old man yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. All right, guys. All right. Again, we are at the point of the stream. If you have any anxiety questions, feel free to ask them. We will do our very best to answer those for you. So drop them in the chat. Let us know what your burning questions are. And again, I will do my very best to answer those for you. Until then, we're just going to chill, hang out with chat a little bit, see what's up. See what's up. Also, exciting news, pretty exciting news. We've been in like that 10K rut for a little bit now, and we've been moving. We've been moving up. I think we're like less than 100 away now officially from 11K subs. So if you haven't subbed already, this is your crystal clear sign to do so. This is your crystal clear sign to do so. Bum 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 bum. Healed. What's up, Kay? Christopher. Yes, or as Kate prefers it, Christopher. As Kate prefers it, Christopher. It's like I'm addicted to pick up on fears. Well, remember that at any point in time, you can whip out the accepting inner voice and you can say something to yourself like, hey, right, I just need to tackle my fear of anxiety. You know, these things come, they bring me anxiety. That's what I'm afraid of, is the anxiety. So I don't need to figure these thoughts out. I don't need to figure all the thoughts out, all the questions out, all these irrational thoughts. I just need to leave them be and focus on overcoming my fear of these feelings. And again, how do you do that? You change your relationship towards them. How do you do that? The accepting inner voice, right? While you continue to live your life. So just a quick example there. Quick example. I think, like I said earlier in the stream, Dr. Claire Weeks, I think I said this anyway, I don't quite remember, says something along the lines in her book, the no longer mattering. The no longer mattering. With the feelings, it's the no longer mattering. You're not going to get to the place of it no longer mattering unless you change your relationship towards it, right? Again, how do you do that? With what you tell yourself. With what you tell yourself. Good old Dr. Claire Weeks. Good old Dr. Claire Weeks. I accept these irrational thoughts, right? I know that they are part of being in fight or flight. I accept this is not the quote-unquote real me. I accept that everything seems so negative right now. That's okay, right? You see through the illusion, see through the bluff. See through the bluff while you're in the bluff. It doesn't necessarily make the bluff any less sucky. Well, it does. Acceptance definitely makes it less sucky, but you get my point. You see through the bluff while you're in the bluff. You see through the illusion while you're in the illusion. You work with what you got, right? There's another little way that you can put that. You work with what you got. It is what it is, and I work with what I got. It is what it is. I'm not going to add to the problem. I'm just going to be aware that the bluff is there, right? Oh, yeah, my mind's going nuts with all these irrational thoughts. That's a part of being in fight or flight. My body's doing the same. That's fine. You're changing your relationship to it by realizing it's just a bluff and that it's okay if it is there, right? If it is there, if it's not there, you're realizing it's okay. You're changing your relationship towards it. Some people call it that, Kevin, but you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can make a change. You can make a change, right? Call it what you want to call it, but you can make a change. My cousin's name is Christopher. He's passed on now, but he was the kindest person ever, and the shoe fits. That's why I call you that. That was the sweetest thing I think you've ever said to me, Kate. And that made my heart happy. That made my heart happy. For me, is like I have two mind. One, yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, you have your old habits, right? You have your old habits. And then you have the irrational thoughts. You don't need to worry about which is which. You can just always come back to the accepting words, right? You don't have to break it down and be a scientist about it, right? Not in that way, at least. You can be an observer as in a scientist, but don't break out the microscope and say, well, what is this and what is that? You can always come back to the accepting words no matter what and say, hey, I know what's going on. Be firm with yourself. Be firm with yourself. I know what's going on. I see the bluff, right? I know what's happening here. I know what's happening here. And you can come back to that, dude. No matter what. No matter if you can tell the quote-unquote difference between this, that, whatever. Too much obsession. You can just always come back to, hey, I know the bluff. I know what's going on here. I know what's going on here. Just like Santa Wonder Bro brings us presents. I am truly honored by Kate's comment there. Truly. I feel locked up physically, breathe deeply, but it's difficult. Times like these are not fun. They're not fun necessarily, right? They're not supposed to be necessarily fun, but they don't have to be suffering. And what I mean by that is what you tell yourself is going to go a long way, Corey, right? You can always come back to some accepting words, and you can practice those accepting words instead of the negative words. That's really what it is, right? You're not trying to fight with the thoughts or feelings. You're just trying to tell yourself something different about them to embrace them, right? And that might not feel believable at first, but that's why we call it a practice. Keep practicing, Corey. You're going to get there. You're fine. Nothing's going to happen to you. Nothing ever has, and nothing ever will. You just need to change your relationship towards these feelings by what you tell yourself, right? It's a bluff. It's not the real you. It's just part of fight or flight. It's nothing you need to do about it, right? Instead of trying to obsess your way out of it, you realize that there's nothing to obsess your way out of. Right. Yeah, we had Brad out the last few, well, we had Brad out for one stream, I believe. Was it two? No, I think it was one. We had Brad out, Mr. Skeleton. He was a hit, man. People love Brad. People loved Brad. I was going to bring him out every Halloween, but people were like, no, you should do it like every holiday. Dress him up, I think somebody said. Brad was a hit. Brad was a hit. Gotta love Brad. I used to just obsess over every freaking thing all day long for years. No wonder my nerves were tired, right? You start to make those realizations. You start to make those realizations like, holy crap, no wonder my nerves are fried. No wonder my nerves are fried. It's a bluff, man. It's a bluff. You obsess over these things because you hate the way that they make you feel, but the only reason they're making you feel that way is because your nerves are tired. That's it. That's it. You just got to remember that instead of trying to figure out all these other little reasons. They don't exist. You just get really, really nervously wrecked when you do that. You just have to say, hey, you know, these things happen. Nobody else is an anxious mess like I am over it, so maybe I should just stop obsessing, realize it's a bluff, and eventually my nerves and my brain will get to the point that I operate and function like all these other quote-unquote lucky bastards. Right? But that's what it takes. It takes being aware of the bluff when you're in it instead of getting drug along by the bluff, right? I think Let's see. Where'd that comment go? I know I just seen that comment. Maybe it was deleted. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's a good comment about how the brain throws a stick and you just chase it. I like it. I like it. I'll rehearse fake conversations in my head for situations that can come up with people. Yeah, and then they never do. And then 9 times out of 10, they never do. I think everybody does that. I think everybody does that. I think it's just like an ego thing. A mind thing. Probably not a good habit necessarily, but I don't think it's uncommon either. Piano, okay, Screaming Piano said that. Yes, I love that. You just got to be aware of it instead, that the bluff is happening. You can take a look around, you can realize it's a bluff, right? Just take a look around, you'll realize it's a bluff. Look at all these other people who have the, you know, they've been in the same situations, or they do the things that you're scared of doing or whatever. All these other people around you go through things in their lives, and they're not an anxious mess over it. They don't even talk about anxiety. They don't even know what anxiety is. That's your proof that you just got a brain that's in fight or flight, and you can get like them, or just look at your own past. That's an even bigger one. If you don't want to compare yourself to other people, just look at your own past. At some point, you had days where these things wouldn't have bothered you, or you had days or weeks or months or even years where you didn't feel the way that you did, and you could go through things and it not be a big deal, and you can get back to that person. That person is just labeled rest digest. Right now, you're in fight or flight, but you can get back to the rest digest person. The more you practice not giving power to the fight or flight stuff by doing that, by just realizing it's a bluff. It's all a freaking illusion, dude. It's fake. It's a bluff. I'm not even in a boat, Crystal. I'm in a rotten canoe. That is not a good place to be. Yeah, just like UK said just now. Magic trick, man. That's really what it is. Just overshadows your real personality and rational self, but that self is still there. It's waiting to come back out as soon as you stop giving so much power to the illusion, to the bluff, right? Wow, this has been a great chat today, guys. This has been a very productive chat. I love these kind of streams where we just don't stop talking because the chat is so good. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes and counting left in the stream before we're going to wind it down. About 10 minutes left. 10 minutes. The bluff is not comfortable, right? But as long as you're aware that it's a bluff, you'll be less likely to be adding all that obsession to it and the negativity. All aboard the rotten canoe. Are we talking about a rotten canoe still? Where are we at? No, we're talking about a boat now. Okay, never mind. Do not get aboard the rotten canoe. We've got an actual boat here. We've got an actual boat. Board that one instead. Thank you. You're sitting next to me. Everybody grab your boat partner before we set off. Piano's riding a shark. I don't think I want to be dying and not feel anxiety as much as I hate it. I worry about not being there for my child. Do you hate the way that the thought of dying makes you feel? Do you hate the way that makes you feel? Well, then that means you hate the feeling more than you hate the thought of dying. You see, it's all funny because here's the thing. You can argue that, right? Like, I don't blame you. You can argue that. Like, no, it's not, you know, no, but it is, though. It is. But it's not, but it is. No, it is. It is because when you get these intrusive thoughts about dying, for example, they make you feel a certain way, and you really don't want to feel that way, and that now it's a fear. It's a fear because of the way that it makes you feel. If it didn't make you feel a certain way, it wouldn't be a fear, right? So again, the root problem is I don't like the way fears make me feel. So if you change your relationship to how they make you feel, you're more than likely to let your fears come up and say, okay, you can make me feel that way, and not give it power, and then it'll slowly stop becoming such a trigger. Does that make sense? I hope everybody followed along there. It's the same concept here. We can prove it really quick. We can take a person who's not afraid of death. Okay, me for example. Sure, plenty of other people in this chat. You get a thought about death, right? That causes me no sort of feeling. I don't get any sort of negative feeling with that, right? There's no negative feeling with that. I don't start to freak about that because there's no negative feeling with that. Right? So if you get a negative feeling with the thought of death, then we call that a fear. How do you overcome a fear? You change your relationship towards it. So if you don't fear the way that these fears make you feel, they'll stop becoming fears. It's all the fear of the feeling, right, is what I'm getting at. And that was really the point of today's stream. So just work on embracing the way that it makes you feel and changing your relationship towards the way that it makes you feel, right? And then you'll be more likely to embrace these things because you're not afraid of the way that it makes you feel, right? Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Trying to find a certain Dr. Claire Weeks passage here. Maybe I'll be able to dig it up at some point. I've lost it here. A real trigger for me recently, but I'm in here. Get it? Okay. Progress. I love to see it. I love to see it. All right, let's check our timer here, guys. We got about 7-8ish minutes left in the stream. So if you've got any questions, get them in now. We're 30 of 50 on the tip goal. We've got about 8 minutes left. We'll see what happens. Nobody panic. We'll see what happens. If you'd like to support the stream, feel free to do so. If not, that's perfectly okay too, right? 220-day streak is quite the achievement. So with about 8 minutes left, if you've got questions, please drop them in the chat right now. Don't wait. We will get them answered to the best of our ability. Speaking of questions, we got one from Kevin. Says, Wonder Bro, how do you know so much about anxiety? It's all personal experience. Keep it up, and thanks. A lot of it's personal experience, right? I feel like it's one of those things, you know, that you actually have to walk through that fire to understand exactly what it feels like. So a lot of it is personal experience. Of course, I learned from a lot of great sources, right? Like Dr. Claire Weeks, obviously, for example. But yeah, I'd say a lot of it is personal experience. A lot of it is personal experience. But thank you, Kevin. Thank you for the question, dude. I appreciate it. Herb jelly. That sounds interesting. Sounds interesting, to say the least. Jelly has a very interesting texture, consistency. No, that's not the word you use, right? Was it just Claire Weeks or someone else too? Well, when we say someone else too, it could mean like a million different sources. Like I did a lot of research, right? I did a lot of research. So, I mean, you know, Moji, Eckhart, you're just a bunch of people talking about the same concept, really. A lot of people talking about the same concept. Yeah, a ton of different sources, UK. I always just use Dr. Claire Weeks as my go-to #1 example, obviously due to the term acceptance, but a lot of different sources, really. All right, guys, 5 minutes and counting. 5 minutes and counting. Better than any therapist I've ever known. That's very flattering, Kevin. Thank you so much for that. I'm not a therapist, but I do appreciate the kind words. Very flattering of you. Yeah, I think everybody here has probably done their fair share, to say the least, their fair share of research, right? Probably a little bit too much research, to be honest. Probably a little bit too much research. When you can't tell between you and the disorder. So you can always come back to the accepting words anyway. Right? You've been looking over that one. I've been telling you that, but you've been looking over that. So whether you can tell or not, can you not always just come back to a accepting inner voice anyway? Right? So then it doesn't matter. It becomes irrelevant. See? You're eliminating the worry regardless. Got to keep things simple for the overthinkers. Absolutely. I mean, that was the result of most of my quote-unquote research, which I guess you could also just say obsession, was coming across things that just confused me in my sensitized state. That's really what it was. That's really what it came down to. And do we even want to call it research, or should we call it obsession? Or should we call it obsession instead? Maybe we should call it obsession instead. Let's be realistic here. I feel like research is done in a very calm, collected manner. So I don't know if we really researched more than we obsessed. The entire Discord. Yes. I mean, it's a shared trait, right? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. All right, guys, we are gonna end this one in about 2 minutes. 2 minutes and counting. 2 minutes and counting. I need to clear my throat. There we go. You're right, Wonder Bro. Research is not research when you're doing it to make yourself feel better about an imaginary catastrophe. Absolutely. I think we're all very supportive, but also firm on keeping up with acceptance. You have to be, right? If you leave too much room for imagination, people get in trouble. People get in trouble. Is acceptance one of the 2 main keys at Crystal? First time I came across one of these vids, I said, who's this Post Malone looking motherfucker? As I clicked on the video, and the rest is history. I'll take it. I'll take it. They're like, oh, I've struggled for 30 years. I can't do this anymore. Does lavender oil help? Oh, toxic. It's a cesspool. That's why I was like so quick to delete my group, because I had it open where people could like freely comment on it, but it was turning into that cesspool, and I was like, no, we can't. I lost you guys for a second there. It might do that a time or two more. It usually comes in pairs. It might do that again. Just be aware. It might do that again. It normally works itself out, but I guess we'll see. For the second time. Hopefully it doesn't happen a third time. We'll see what happens.